Isn't this the cutest little tiny peanut? So nauseous right now. I can't even, but it's okay. Hi everyone, if you're new here, my name is Lyra, and today I wanted to talk about my first signs and symptoms of pregnancy in those 2 annoying weeks of waiting to find out if you are pregnant or not. Now, this is my second baby, it's my second pregnancy, and so I have experienced initial pregnancy symptoms twice now, and I would say that they were consistent across both pregnancies. Okay, so this pregnancy was really funny because the first pregnancy, I kind of knew that I was pregnant. The second pregnancy, I just had this gut feeling that I was pregnant. We got pregnant our first time trying last time, and we got pregnant our first time trying this time as well. So obviously I feel like I kind of had an idea, or like had that expectation in my mind that we will get pregnant again. So basically I kept testing every day, and these tests were coming out negative, and I was slowly getting my hopes up, but inside I kind of just knew, I kind of just had these symptoms, and I thought that maybe something was going on, but like it wasn't coming out on the test. And what ended up happening was, actually one day my partner and I were like, I think it was like a Friday, and we were going for a walk, and we were like, let's go get a couple of drinks. And I was like, because at this point we were sure, like 100% sure that perhaps like I wasn't pregnant, but I don't know. I was like, no, you know what? Let me just confirm that I am not pregnant, because this was like one day before my expected period. So there should have been a positive test by now, but there wasn't. And so I was just like, let's be safe and confirm, because at this point, if it's saying no, then I'm definitely not pregnant. And that is when I took the test, and that is when I found out that I was pregnant. I had this deep feeling or hunch that I was pregnant for a couple of reasons. Just after ovulation, my boobs were really sore. And after having my first baby, this was like a really similar symptom, because when it was my first pregnancy in those 2 weeks, my boobs were really tender and they swelled up really quickly. And that's not something that I normally get before my period. And I think that's the important part to remember, that premenstrual symptoms and pregnancy symptoms can seem similar, but there are some subtle differences. For example, if your premenstrual symptom is having like really tender breasts, maybe in pregnancy, a pre-pregnancy symptom is like getting bigger nipples or bigger boobs plus tenderness. So there's kind of some subtle differences, and maybe they're alongside other symptoms. I also remember sitting there and feeling really zoned out when I went to work one day. This is in the morning. Normally I'm totally zoned out by like 2 o'clock. Like that's totally normal for me. But in the morning, I remember just staring at the screen being like, whoa, like I am so, I guess, tired. And I was like sitting there like, I may as well be like the guy at the bus stop or something. Like there is no cognitive capacity left here. And so I was like, oh, maybe that's a pre-pregnancy symptom. I also remember getting the elevator to the office, and normally like I'm fine with elevators. I never get nausea, I never get vertigo, but as soon as I got off this elevator, and this happened like a couple of days in a row, I was like, whoa, like I just felt a bout of like vertigo-like symptoms for like 5 minutes after getting off this elevator. And that dizziness and vertigo ended up turning into nausea really, really quickly. And that never happened with my son. Okay, so the next symptom actually ended up being my face talking to me. I had the worst skin. Look, you can still see, like, I have this like really big pimple that actually hasn't healed in, how long has it been? Like 5-6 weeks. And my skin just broke out in little pimples everywhere. And I also had this cystic pimple right here. And I also got a puffy face in the morning, like a really, really puffy face. I never get acne breakouts, so I do think it was hormonal. In terms of the puffy face, I normally like get some sort of puffiness, but I actually just got like, it was extreme. It was way more than what I was used to. And alongside that, I had this really weird craving for water. When I wasn't dehydrated, I was chugging water and I was literally craving water. I was craving Evian water. I was like just having bottles of Evian. Bad for the environment, I know, but I had to have it. I can't even tell you, like, I had to have bottles of water. To be honest, right now, talking about it, like, I think that I'm craving it again. The next symptom that I got in both pregnancies, in fact, I should totally be wearing my glasses right now, is blurry vision. Blurry vision is something that I experienced early on in my first pregnancy. I distinctly remember it. Came along with that dizziness and tiredness. Actually, now that I'm putting it together, it might have even indicated like that early iron deficiency that you might experience in early pregnancy. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I am iron deficient currently, and I was also iron deficient in my first pregnancy. And otherwise, like when I'm not pregnant, my levels are totally normal. So it's weird. I just remember, like, normally I have pretty good 20/20 vision when I look long distance, but I couldn't make out like number plates in front of me. Like it's just like a lot harder to see for me, basically. And that's still sticking around here and there. It comes back and then it goes away. So I don't know what it is, you guys. I really don't know what it is. But I don't know if I'm placeboing myself. If there's an optometrist out there that's listening to this, can you please answer it? But I totally, like, my pregnancy, every time I'm pregnant, it screws with my vision for whatever reason. If you are experiencing the same thing as me, apparently you shouldn't change your prescription based on your current symptoms, because like I said, it comes and goes in waves. And apparently if you have poor vision during pregnancy, you can get your full vision back after your pregnancy. And the final one, and oh my gosh, I was certain that this was the sign, the symptom, and this is what I've had both of my pregnancies, is implantation cramps. Now, I will tell you the exact difference between implantation and cramps for premenstrual cramps in a second, but implantation cramps both times stopped me in my tracks when I was pregnant. I remember with my first baby, we were going out to dinner, and we were walking down this really, really, really big hill, and I felt so sick in my stomach, and I pulled over from our friends, and I was like, oh man, like I am really cramping. Like these cramps stopped me in my tracks. At the time, they were really severe period cramps, but they're actually implantation cramps, and I'll tell you the difference in a second. But I thought that they were really bad period cramps, and they were coming from one side though, and I thought that was really strange. So I told my partner, like, oh, I'm gonna get my period in a couple of days. Like, I am definitely not pregnant. And I actually remember coming home from that dinner early and going to bed, and it was just so painful, and they only lasted a couple of hours and they didn't come back. However, with my second pregnancy, what happened was the same thing. My partner and I were cooking dinner in the kitchen, and the whole right side of my body just seized up so much, particularly coming from this area. This time though, I knew, I was like, ooh, implantation cramps. They definitely have to be implantation cramps. And I laid back on the couch, and my partner had to finish dinner, and I was just there like, oh, like, it is happening. It is totally happening. However, even a couple of days after that happened, I tested negative. Until I tested positive, which is crazy because, like, the implantation cramps are meant to be like a dead giveaway that you're pregnant. But it took me a while. It took my body a while to start releasing that HCG. Okay, you guys, so for me, the difference between implantation cramps and period cramps were really distinct both times. The one really common thing with implantation cramps that are not common with period cramps is cramping from one side at a time. That could be from your right, that could be from your left. With my first pregnancy, it actually alternated for a bit, which was really strange. For me, they were always coming from one side and not so much in the center. The cramping itself was not that heavy cramping that you experience with a savage period. They're more of like muscle soreness. I guess the only thing I could relate it to is, say you have like leg day at the gym, or you've had like a really big leg workout and your calves are like spasming and they're sore and they're like trying to stretch but they can't. That's what it feels like. Whereas your period is like, it's really heavy and it feels like someone is like pushing down on your uterus, and it's like that really sluggish feeling. Whereas implantation cramps for me felt more like muscles hurting or like being in pain from the gym. The other way that I can describe this pain is your uterus is stretching. So the stretching of your uterus makes that pain feel like muscles are, I guess, being pulled rather than tightly contracted, which is what happens during your period. So it's kind of like a pulling sensation. And after your implantation cramps, you might get that pulling sensation for weeks. I had slight pulling and tingling sensations from my uterus for 1 or 2 weeks with both pregnancies. It is really scary, but unless they're like sharp, extremely sore cramps, my doctor, my OB-GYN said that there was absolutely nothing to worry about. There is just, for whatever reason, that difference between pregnancy, like PMS cramps, and implantation cramps. And the biggest thing I can attribute it to is the other symptoms that go along with it, like dizziness, blurry vision, and I guess fatigue or whatever other symptoms that you're feeling that you wouldn't normally feel in your PMS kind of stage. I know that can sound really confusing, but yeah, the biggest thing for me was implantation cramps, that pulling, stretching, and like muscle pain sensation, whereas having period cramps is more of like that compression and tightening and really deep soreness. Thank you so much for watching. Fingers crossed that you get a big fat positive like me and that you're experiencing early pregnancy symptoms. If you've liked this video, please like, comment down below of your symptoms, or or help clarify anything that I said, and subscribe to this channel. I post motherhood content, and I'm definitely going to post my pregnancy updates in the coming weeks, and I will see you next time.